Welcome to So You Think You Can Date, a podcast for those ready to do dating differently. I'm Nicki Pappas, a queer, poly, millennial mom who is dating again for the first time in 15 years. What could go wrong? LOLs. While lots can go wrong, and has, a lot has also gone really well. The So You Think You Can Date podcast is about my adventures in dating. You don't have to hold the identities I hold to benefit from the life experiences I share here. Let's talk about communication, connection, and consent, regardless of what type of relationship you are in or looking for. With vulnerability, authenticity, and curiosity, I'm exploring unfamiliar terrain and would love for you to join me.
Hi.
Hello! Oh my gosh, am I frozen?
No, but I couldn't get in. And then
Oh
I
no.
I did I went through my browser or whatever, so I don't know what's happening, but
Weird. Okay,
yeah,
is it already recording?
I guess
Yes.
so.
Okay. Oh my
Yes.
gosh, how are you?
Woo! I'm good. I'm so excited about this. This is
I am too.
amazing.
I'm really, really excited. Do you have any questions or anything before we jump in?
No, I can't wait to hear what you're going to ask me.
Okay. I have a really
I
fun story to
I
tell.
can't wait to hear what I'm going to say because I have never talked about this on a podcast. And
Oh,
I
yes.
like I just wrote a post on Instagram like 2 seconds ago because I've been doing that for are we live? Are we doing this? Is this gonna be on the
Oh,
okay.
will this part be in the recording?
Yeah. Because
I don't know. It
I don't
depends
want to waste
on how good
it.
it is. No, I'm just kidding.
Anyway, so I basically bottom line is I've been doing a bunch of podcast interviews. So I just wing it every time. Whatever comes out of my mouth comes out of my mouth. But I typed up 4 pages of notes for this because I was like, dating, I don't know. I need some crystallized ideas. I need a philosophy. I need something because who knows what I might
Interesting.
say, which is fine. Normally I don't mind just whatever comes out of my mouth, but this is something I want to think about anyway. So this is really good. Yeah.
Well, I have a question for you about that.
Okay.
Do you spend less time thinking about dating than you think about the other topics you talk about? So you have more readily available to
I
share?
spend zero time thinking about dating.
Yeah. So I wonder if that's part of it, right? Like you don't have, your basic things about what you think, but you don't give
Yeah.
it the energy that you give to your thoughts on white supremacy and
Well,
evangelicalism and all those things.
yeah, it's kind of like if someone wants to talk to me about my car. Like I'm like,
Mhm.
"Oh, my car. I should think about my car for a minute because I don't know what I would say about my car because I don't
Yeah.
think about it." No, it's not quite
Oh,
like that,
that's so
but
interesting.
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to try to keep all that in because, yeah, that's gold. Uh, as most things are that you say. So,
Oh
but I'll
man.
give us a little intro, little backstory, and we'll jump in then. All right. And I have a really fun story to tell.
Oh my gosh, can't wait.
Okay. So, in this episode of the So You Can Think, I should know the name of the podcast of the So You Think You Can Date podcast, we're going to talk about not dating. So, joining me today, the voice you've been hearing is my dear friend, Marla Taviano. And we're going to share more about the backstory of what led to this particular podcast recording. But when I thought about having you on as a guest, which you would be the only guest, by the way, these episodes are just me talking about dating. But I knew, let's talk about not dating. Now, I have this really quick aside, the story that I want to share, because I think it just goes along so well with how different we are about dating and just our personalities about all this in general. So last night, I went to this fundraiser. You can't read this, so that's not helpful. To celebrate 20 years at Imaginon, the Children's Theater of Charlotte. And I was part of the entertainment dressed as a flapper for the Gatsby's Glam Gala. And your girl looked good, right? And your girl was flirting with all the people. And at the end of the night, one of the guys, so shout out to Bradley was his name, I believe, who had been serving the sliders. So Bradley and I would talk and I'd go up and I'd chat with him. And the second time I went up there, I was like, this one isn't for me. Oh, when I was Betty as in Boop, that was my character. And so That's what I'm telling him.
You're always some kind of Betty.
That's right. That's why I was like, I channeled Beattie exactly because we're gonna get there because I was Beattie for the show that you
Yeah,
came to
yeah.
watch. Yeah. So I went up there and I was like, this one isn't for me, And he was like, oh, I don't care. And I was like, but I'll be back. And he goes, I'll be looking forward to it. Right. And he was young, but the chutzpah, right. And so before he left for the night, he was cleaning up and he comes by with a vase of flowers and there were daisies for Daisy Buchanan. And he pulls one off and he just so smoothly passes it to me. And I was like, oh, thank you.
Oh.
And like, never asked for my number. I'm never going to see this man again, but it was very sweet, very kind. Just, yeah, shout out to Bradley. But it made me think about the day that you came to see me as Beattie in a show. And then we went out to eat after, and I'm like flirting with a person there. And you were like, oh my gosh, like not in a judgy way, but you're like,
Right.
man, Nicki just like someone will flirt with Nicki everywhere. Nicki's gonna flirt with someone everywhere. And then we went to that place after, it was like the Goodwill outlet. And I was like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom and see if I can find someone to flirt with in there. And so it's just so funny to me how and all of that, like, man, the story from that day after my show, I had come out as queer, but and I wanted an open marriage, like had asked for it, but was not in an open marriage. Or maybe I hadn't even asked for it yet, had just kind of like put the teaser out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, very different now to just feel so comfortable and safe flirting and just kind of like, yeah, and that it can just be fun and in this moment. Anyway, so that is all just funny. What I was thinking about, like literally that story came to me this morning as I thought about the daisy. And I was like, oh gosh, this pairs so well with the backstory here. So I want you to share the backstory of these 50 podcasts by your 50 birthday. Oh my gosh, 50th birthday. Also, I didn't wake up until 9:23, Marla, this morning. So I was
It's
tired
10
from
a.m.
last
right
night.
now for those people that don't know what time it is.
So your girl is a bit,
Oh.
yeah, that gala last night. Ooh, but yeah, so 50 podcasts by your 50th birthday. And anything you want to share about approaching your 50th? I just want to set some of that background.
First of all, you are like one of the best flirters that I know. It is so fun to watch you at your craft. Like, look at her go. Yeah, I'm out of practice. It's been a long time. Speaking of flappers, when I was in high school, I used to go to these candy conventions with my friend Rebecca and her parents because they owned a candy store and they have national candy conventions around the country and in Toronto. So I've been to one in Salt Lake City, one in Chicago, and one in Toronto. I think it was after my senior year of high school and it was in Chicago. And the theme of the banquet at the end of the thing was the 1920s. And so Rebecca and I were 18. Her parents rented flapper dresses for us. And I was hot. Like, I will show you. And probably back then, I probably flirted a lot more. So I'll find a photo and send
You
that to
have
you. I
to.
will post it on the internet as well. Okay. 50. Now I'm 50. I'm no longer 18. I turned 50 on Halloween this year. So I was born in 1975 and straddling that century, millennium 2000, and now it's 2025. And there's a lot of things in my life that have changed over the past few years. So I lived 39 years in Ohio, 5 years in Cambodia, and moved to South Carolina in March 2020. So 5 years ago, next week, moved to South Carolina. In September 2020, my husband at the time went to go visit his parents in Ohio, came back and told me he wanted a divorce. And he left. We haven't seen him since. I have 3 young adult daughters who live with me. And I have been a writer, an editor, a poet for many, many years. I've been a poet. I started writing poems in first grade, and I have some of those in my own handwriting. Then I stopped for about 40 years, and then I got back to it the last few years. But I've always been a reader and a writer. I went to college as a nursing major, very quickly discovered that I cannot stomach the sight of blood. And so I switched to elementary education. I was a teacher for 3 years, then became a mom, and I've been a writer and editor ever since. My dream is to support myself and my family with my own writing instead of writing for other people. currently making a couple $100 a month from my writing and art, which is not enough to pay the bills. So one of the things that inspired this 50 podcast interviews in honor of my 50th birthday is that in 2008 and 2009, my family went to 52 zoos in 52 weeks. So I've done something similar to this before. This is going to be way easier. I get to sit at my dining room table and talk to people and not go anywhere, pile kids in a minivan and go to zoos. But it just felt like a now or never kind of thing. I know that's not true, but I really, 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 really have a lot to say and a lot to write. And I'm going to make a big, big push because it's constantly this scaling back my writing so that I can pay the bills and then trying to ramp it up and then running out of money and getting more jobs. And I want this to be my thing. I want to go for it. And so I know that podcasting is one semi uncomfortable thing for me. It's not really like once I get going, I love talking. We'll see about the dating thing. But I just the whole pitching the podcast, setting it up, making the time, figuring out what I want to say, all of that. But I know that getting in front of other people's audiences is really the only way to get more eyes on my books, on my work, and what I do. And just like every author, we don't want to be saleswomen. Like that's not our thing, promoting ourselves necessarily. But I never want to be the person that complains about that because that's just life. That's how it is. If I write things that I think will really, really mean something to people and could change their lives, it's my job then to tell them about it. And so that's what people like all the podcasts I've been on, that's what people are doing. They're sharing stories, they're telling things like you have a reason for this, right? You are processing and working through something new in your life, but you're also wanting to expand other people's horizons, get them to think outside the box, people who are in dead-end marriages and hurting and have all of this toxicity from religion, and you're like, hey, we don't have to do this. So it's like a public service, right? But there's so many things involved in it. So I don't want to have a podcast myself, but I know so many people. Like this is interview 17 on my way to 50, and most of the people, not all, have been people that I know, friends that I've been on their podcast before. A few of them are new, but I know a lot of people who have a lot to say and have a platform. And I'm just really grateful that they're sharing that platform with me. And then my hope is that I am helping them promote. So it's just this collaboration. And in this time right now that we're in, especially where it's just complete shit, like everything is scary and sad and hard. Like I think it's so important for us to work together, come together, talk to each other, build people up, do anything we can. And so that's just a part of that for me. And obviously you and I are great friends, like in real life and supporting each other's stuff and just hanging out. And like you said, we are so different. And yet there's something in there. I don't know what it is exactly that connects us. And it goes along with, my friends are not all carbon copies of me. I know that when I was in church, and that was kind of the deal, like, let's all be the same kind of person. Let's all fit in this same box. And getting outside of that box and being friends with people who are so different from me, but have that same value of wanting everyone to be whole has been really freeing and fun for me. Did I answer your question? I don't know what your question was. That is a big problem I have with podcasts. What was the question?
No, you answered my question and several other ones wrapped in there. So you were very efficient, I would say.
Yes.
Efficient. No, I love that. I need a friend whose parents own a candy store. Like
I
that's one thing I
know.
need. Like now in my
Yeah.
life. And like, do you still go to these conventions with your folks? Can I come? And when I listen to you talk, I think about how much life happens in the showing up and the intentionality with which you operate in the world for putting yourself out there, the vulnerability it takes to do that, but how you realize like this is how it's done, connecting with each other and together building the world that we want to live in. And just the nature of not promoting ourselves. It's so funny because this podcast is the idea of my work bestie, Elise. So shout out to Elise. She's like, you need to have a podcast about all of this because she knew I was doing the little mini So You Think You Can Date videos
Yeah.
on Instagram. And she was like, have a podcast about this, build your platform. She's a marketer. That's her main job, is for marketing and helping people with that. And so we talked about it. And then she was like, and are you promoting your book in your podcast? Like the one I have coming out this June, Coming of Age and Coming Out, Stories of Repressed and Reclaimed Sexual Desire, which was so much of the impetus for why I'm dating, is because I realized I'm
Yeah.
not monogamous. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, I hadn't, like, I've recorded some of the episodes, but didn't put in any of the outros anything about my new book. And she was like, you've got to do that. You have to tell people about the thing you
Yeah.
have. And it feels weird to me. But then I was like, oh, just own that, hey, I'm doing this and I would love for you to buy a copy and or share about it with other people. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not trying to trick you or manipulate you or whatever, but if I don't tell you about it, you're not going to know. So here's
Right.
the information and do with it what you will. So yeah. Okay. Getting into, you talked about your divorce. So obviously that's not something that you ever expected was going to happen, given the background that we came from and the beliefs about divorce attached to the more rigid evangelicalism. And so is there anything else you want to say about the divorce before you talk about what it's been like to be single again in your 40s and just this life that you would not have expected?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about my ex forever, but we met at a church camp as counselors. And I was, okay, so it's 1996. I was 20. He was 19, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, I thought he was hot. Like, we played basketball together. He blocked my shot 8 times. He was not having any of this. I was like, he is sexy. I told my cabin mate, Rachel, who turned out, she was the, what's the word? Maid of honor. I was like, best woman. Maid of honor in my wedding. And I said, oh, he has like the most athletic body I've ever seen. And that's, I'm drooling over this guy. He's like tall, tan, curly hair, athletic. I'm like, this is great. So I was dating someone at the time. So was he. By the end of the summer, we were together. And then we went back to the camp the next summer and were engaged by the end of that summer and got married January of 1998. He was still in college. So I moved to Indiana briefly. I was a teacher. He was finishing up school. He's a year younger than me, but 2 years behind in school because I finished college in 3 years. So we get married. We did not have sex before we were married. I write a lot of poetry about this now, saying that if we had let ourselves have sex before we got married, I probably would have gotten him out of my system before before I married him, because we were very different.